Now, Parliament says suspended public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, went against the advice of the Ethics Committee and released audio recordings meant to prove her bribery claims. Now, she says the audio was recorded by her husband and proves that the chairperson of the committee looking into her fitness to hold office, Kubutile Janji, ANC Chief Whip, Pemi Majodina, and the late Member of Parliament, Tina Joemat-Pettersson, tried to solicit bribes from her. Let's get reaction now, and we speak to three political parties represented in the National Assembly. The IFP'S Velenkosini Hlabisa, leader of that party, Mari Sukers from the ACDP, and Vuyo Zungula from the African Transformation Movement. To all of you, my thanks for joining us for this conversation. Can I start with you, Mr. Hlabisa, and ask a very straightforward question? How much value do you place on what the public protector says is proof that monies were sought from her through extortion?
Good morning, Toli, and the viewers of this program and my colleagues who are part of this panel. The revelations made by the public protector are very serious and very unfortunate, because if they can be proved true, they will demonstrate the extent of corruption in our country and the extent of people who are able to pay money, how they run away with whatever crime they have committed. Because if it is true what she is saying, if she did pay the money, maybe this case might no longer be still there of her impeachment. This will need to be explored deeply to find the truth. And if it is confirmed true, the implicated members of parliament must meet the consequence management.
Yeah. Let's come to you, Ms. Mari Sukers. The ACDP, how do you see this particular revelation by the suspended public protector? Let's remember that the audio recordings are set to be unauthenticated at this stage. So, again, I put the exact same question to you. How much value do you place on what she has tabled as evidence?
Good morning to you, and good morning to the listeners. You know, one of the reasons why I wanted to come on here was for this reason, which I'm going to say now. It is unfortunate, the lack of sensitivity that is being shown towards the bereaved family of the late Honorable Tina Joemat-Pettersson. The issues of evidence and the charges need to be dealt with within the context of the law. And that needs to be investigated within the institutions where the public protector or her husband has laid those charges. But for me as a woman, and we have emphasized, and I think throughout this hearing, there was much made about being a black woman especially, and being a person, how it feels to be in a position where charges are laid against you, and for a fair process to be done in terms of what is being said for the public protector. The same applies to the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson and to the individuals that has been mentioned. We need to apply the same principles of fairness, and especially where it comes to the bereavement of the family, we need to show the African values of respect and sensitivity.
Yeah. Mr. Zungula, much the same question to you, but perhaps let's add the element of what Ms. Sukers says is insensitivity that is being shown towards the family of Tina Joemat-Pettersson before she's even laid to rest. But nonetheless, what has been tabled yesterday is what the public protector suggests is evidence that bribes were sought from her.
Look, Oli, we need to be sensitive to everyone. It cannot be that Advocate Mkhwebane is going to be accused of delaying tactics, of trying, to play games with that particular process. As we speak now, her life is on the line herself. It is her that is risking impeachment over members of parliament who supposedly or allegedly seek bribes from her. So she has been doing her part in terms of submitting the evidence to the police, because as we speak now, a case was opened with the police, a report or complaint was submitted to the ethics committee, and we've had members of parliament in that particular inquiry saying she's delaying tactics, and they were even denying that those WhatsApp messages are actually authentic. Therefore, by her going out to the public to say, this is what transpired, it is not Advocate Mkhwebane who approached members of the ANC seeking for bribes or seeking to pay the money so that they influence the direction of that particular inquiry. It is the other way around. However, we've got an unfortunate reality whereby everything that concerns Advocate Mkhwebane will be melted with distrust, and people are going to be negative towards it. And I can assure you, even if Advocate Mkhwebane did not release those audio recordings, she was still going to be blamed. People are still going to find a reason to blame her. So what we have, it is an unfortunate reality whereby people are no longer fighting for justice, because justice means that Advocate Mkhwebane herself must be afforded an opportunity to clear the air, provide all of the evidence of the wrongdoing on the side of the members of parliament, because that inquiry of impeachment would ruin her life, would ruin her career. Therefore, she's more than justified in terms of taking the nation into its confidence regarding what actually transpired.
Mr. Hlabisa, I'm told you are still with us. If you can hear, indeed, there you are. All right. Let me pose this question to you. The public protector went against the advice of the ethics committee, which has since indicated that it is going to investigate this. And indeed, we are told that Mr. Kubutile Janji, the chairperson of the inquiry that is testing the fitness of Mkhwebane to hold office, they said that don't go public with these audio recordings, but she's gone against that. And in a sense, she is seeking to influence the court of public opinion. She says during this that her husband is the person who sat down with Ms. Tina Jomat Peterson, and this is why, therefore, she is releasing the audio recordings of those very conversations. Did it strike you as strange that Mr. David Skosana, the husband, was nowhere to be seen in this press conference, if again we go along this theme of now taking this public and seeking to influence the court of public opinion?
I wouldn't expect the husband to be present in the press conference, because indeed he was a big man. We all know the role of a big man is someone whom you meet with the intention not to meet him, the original person you want to meet. So to me, whether he was present or not is really immaterial. On the question of why she goes public on these recordings, to me also, I think she did the right thing, because keeping it within the walls of those who know it might have worked against her if it is only known at a later stage. We now know there are recordings, there are allegations to people who are dealing with the process. Those who are directly involved must step aside so that they do not influence the process. A deep investigation to the recordings, its credibility must be done, and consequence management must be introduced if these recordings are found true, implicating the members who are still alive. We are very unfortunate and sorry for the late member, but there is nothing we can do now we can only deal with the remaining members.
At the heart of this, Ms. Sukers, at the heart of this is what the public protector says has been unfair treatment on her. And it's not the first time she's complaining in particular about the chairperson of the inquiry, Mr. Qubutile Dyantyie. Now, yesterday, a direct question is put to Advocate Mkhwebane about, is there direct evidence that you can put on the table against Mr. Dyantyie? And I don't think that that particular question was answered. What are your thoughts on whether or not there should be, by now, if the public protector says there is evidence that this inquiry is completely impugned, its integrity is impugned, is there evidence against Qubutile Dyantyie that can be taken to a court of law right now to say, Mr. Dyantyie, you are at fault here, sir, please step aside?
Yeah, you know, I think the key word is integrity. And in this case, it is to do with the integrity of process and the integrity of the institutions that upholds the law and the constitution in our country. It is, firstly, I'm a member of a committee, one of the biggest committees, I think, of Parliament right now is the ad hoc committee dealing with the impeachment of the public protector. And the committee is not the chairperson alone. It is made up of every single party that is represented in Parliament. That's one. Secondly, the process, as I can speak as an ACDP member, as to how we approached this process. And it was very clear to enter the process with an open mind. Foremost, however, which should be in the mind of every single person that serves in Parliament, is our constitutional duty. And our constitutional duty is to serve the people of South Africa and to uphold the constitution that holds every person accountable in whatever position. If you serve in a Chapter 9 constitution, Chapter 9 institution, if you serve in Parliament, if you're the president of this country, all of us are subject to the Constitution of South Africa, and we are accountable to the public whom we serve. And that is at the heart of this process as well. In terms of the fairness of the process process has now been dragging for over 8 months in terms of the actual hearing. We are a year into the impeachment of the public protector, the suspension. Every single effort in terms of what the Constitutional Court has mandated in its judgment has been made for the public protector to be dealt with fairly. And the reason why I want to end on your question with this, the values of South Africans, and especially us serving within the public sector, are at full display for our nation. Our country needs to be restored through our institutions. We need to restore trust. And that is what motivates me, certainly, and why this process must be concluded. It must be concluded because every single person that serves in whatever capacity, and in this case, as the public protector who holds significant powers, must be subject to the Parliament that bears oversight over that institution. So here it is about integrity and accountability and how that plays out. In terms of the evidence and everything that was said yesterday, again, it must be dealt with within the ambit of the institutions that would deal with that. Yeah. The Ethics Committee of Parliament is dealing with the issues or the complaint that was laid by the public protector.
Mr. Zungula, I've got to put the same question to you. Mr. Dyantyie is arguably here. Yes, there are other people that are accused, including the late Tina Joemat-Pettersson. There is Phemi Majortina, the ANC chief whip. But there is the key person, if I were to put it that way, and that is Mr. Dyantyie. Because the public protector sees this as her persecution. Yes, she includes all manner of other people, the president, the Speaker of Parliament, but in essence, she says these all of these people have conspired against her. But the person that I suppose is at the heart of this right now is Mr. Jantyi. Can you sit there and say convincingly that there was evidence deduced against Mr. Jantyi?
On the audio recordings, there is a part whereby the late Ms. Peterson states that the people that he involved and that these bribes are going to go to, it is Ms. Majodina and Mr. Jantyi. Therefore, and we are not talking about a person there that has no access to both those two individuals. We're talking about a person that is a member of the ANC, works with those two individuals in Parliament. Therefore, in her own words, the bribes that she was trying to get was going to be divided amongst the three of them. Therefore, that is evidence enough that links Mr. Jantyi here. And the public protector is well within a right to say, in light of this evidence, which is the audio recordings, she's well in a right to say that she cannot, confidently sit on inquiry that is going to be presided or that is presided over a person by a person who has sought or who is alleged to have sought bribes from her in order to make the processes to go a certain direction. And if you're to listen again to the audio recordings, there's a part that is stating there what will happen, that the public protector will no longer be afforded an opportunity to give oral evidence. And last Friday, one of the resolutions that Mr. Jantyi said then was that members of the committee must rather ask written questions in order to get written replies. So you can see what is communicated there in the audio recordings has already happened, which should give any person who is rational a sense that there might be truth to this. Therefore, the most rational thing to do now is for Mr. Jantyi to step aside, because as my colleague is saying, that committee is not Mr. Jantyi's committee. That process can still continue even if you remove this person that has got allegations hanging over him.
All right. Mr. Zungula, Mr. Hlabisa, let's conclude with you, sir. The Parliament is going to go on recess on Thursday. The Ethics Committee, the suggestions, at least from what I've read this morning, is that those people are also going to go on recess too, except, of course, the 194 inquiry that is headed by Mr. Jantyi. Do you think that by the time that a report is produced, the Ethics Committee would have concluded its investigations into Mr. Jantyi?
Actually, the truth of the matter, the waters have been muddied in this case. Really, a review must be visited. If Mr. Jantyi cannot step aside as an implicated person, it will make the whole exercise lose credibility. It will be up to Mr. Jantyi to demonstrate whether he can be trusted by the public, because these allegations are very serious and will compromise whatever outcome if it is concluded with him being part of it. And if he says he must be proven so, then a process to interrogate and prove the recording as have been released, that indeed they implicate him, definitely the process cannot be concluded with him being part of the process.
To all of you, let me thank you very much for your time. IFP leader Velenkosini Hlabisa, thank you indeed for your time. And Ms. Mari Sukers from the ACDP, thanks indeed for your time. And Mr. Vuyo Zungula, thank you very much for your time from the ATM.